Yes, he's got it. Here he comes. Way rocks the baby to sleep and slam dunk. And the doctor made a sensational play. In front, the foot, did they score? And Giroux got it. Gonzalez fires. Blast and goal! Brady back again. He's got to be 10 and full forward. Brady fumbles the football and the Eagles have it.
We welcome you to the Philly Sports Hour here live. Back on Saturday morning. We weren't with you last week. I hope you all enjoyed your Thanksgiving and your Black Friday shopping and everything. But we're back this week for what was kind of a stale week in Philly sports. Not much happened. The Eagles got a big win on Sunday. The Sixers seem to be kind of trending upwards. Some bad Phillies news. If you were expecting a certain outfielder to come to Philadelphia, your hope and dreams kind of got killed with that. And then we have a little bit of a Flyers debate to get to as well in this hour. And we hope you come along for the ride. So Ben Gold joining me today is Philly Sports Report writer Matt Brown. Matt, how we doing on this fine Saturday?
I am doing so well. I'm just so this is the time of year where I feel like sports is the best. Like you kind of got everything going right now. You got hockey, you got basketball, you got football, end of the season. For like some of the college people, both college basketball and football are playing now. And then right now, I just feel like it's such a good time for sports. And I'm just so excited for it, especially with Philly sports right now.
Yeah, and next week the MLB winter meetings will be getting underway, so you get this MLB news flying in as well. So a lot of things going on. And so I'm a big October sports guy. NBA and NHL starting, it's the perfect weather. Baseball playoffs, when the Phillies are in it or not, they're fun to watch. Eagles, of course, and college football starting. College basketball is about to start, but also March is a great month as well, just for the basketball.
Can almost never go wrong.
Yeah, every month except for it feels like February.
Oh my God,
it's a pretty good sports month. That's a brutal sports month.
Oh,
but
that's bad.
Speaking of great sports, today is the college football championship weekend, if you want to call it that. And well, your Penn State Nittany Lions are in Indianapolis tonight, playing the best top team in the country, the Oregon Ducks. Mentally, physically, how do we feel?
I feel like a nervous wreck. Like I'm not even out there playing. I'm just literally watching from my house, and I feel like a nervous wreck. I've been a Penn State football fan, Penn State fan in general since I was 10, 11 years old. So more than half my life now, I've been a Penn State fan. I've been going to games since I was around that same age. I remember 2016 when Saquon Barkley, who now is an Eagle, which I still can't believe, was tearing it up against Wisconsin, and now we're back 8 years later. I'm super nervous, but super, super excited to watch tonight's game. I'm so ready to go. I'm ready to run through a brick wall just talking about it right now.
We were talking a little bit before. James Franklin's, he is able to change his narrative tonight. He won one game against a ranked top 5 team. Now he's going up against the number 1 team in the country in Oregon, who all of a sudden is in the Big Ten. You know, for James Franklin tonight, like, is he playing for his job?
No, I mean, the big thing with James is he brings in such great recruits, and you know, people take advantage of 10-2 and 11-1 seasons so much. And yes, I get mad at him sometimes because yes, he has not won the big game really almost ever. Last time we beat a top 5 team was 2016 when we beat Ohio State on a blocked field goal as well. So yes, he is playing for that little edge and saying, man, I can actually win the big game, get to a playoff and win a conference against a really good team. But he's nowhere in jeopardy right now. But I think this is a really good test for him. You know, it's always, you can't beat Ohio State, you can't beat Michigan. Well, that's neither of these teams right now. It's Oregon, the team that I think they match up really well with, and I think should be a really good game between the two teams.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a good game. I'm not a big college football. I don't have a specific team or school that I'm a fan with. I guess when I go to college in about a year, I'll find it. I'll obviously be with a school that I can move for. But prediction, what is your prediction for the game tonight?
I'm going 31-27 Penn State. I think Nick Singleton has the running back for Penn State. I think he has a really, really big night. I'm hoping for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think Tyler Warren scores as well. A big tight end who, God, I'd love for him to be an Eagle next year. But I think he scores as well. I think it's going to be a really good game, really fast and athletic game. I think Oregon is one of the fastest teams in the nation. So it's going to be hard to stop them. But I got us win 31-27, winning the Big Ten tonight.
There you go. And that would automatically clinch a playoff spot, right?
God, the nerves would drop even lower because at that point we're 1 or 2. I think we're going to the Rose Bowl if we do that, which is, oh my God, I'd love to go to the Rose Bowl. I don't know if I'd go out there, but the Rose Bowl, it's the Rose Bowl. It's the granddaddy of them all. It's one of the best games for football ever. So yeah, it'd be awesome.
It sure is. I saw like they're doing renovations to the Rose Bowl. Like, I get it, but like the place is so iconic. Like, how can you like change it up a little bit? Like maybe like the interior you can change, but you can't change the seating bowl or anything.
No, I love NFL. I love the Super Bowl. I love playoff NFL game, but that game is number one. It's played at 5:00 on New Year's Day for a reason. You get that perfect sunset in Pasadena. You have that great atmosphere. Oh, it's so good just talking about it. I would love to play in that game again. We played 2 years ago and won, and I didn't get to go, but I watched that game. It's such a nice venue to be there, and I would love to go back there again.
It is beautiful. I have my Rose Bowl championship shirt in my shirt drawer.
Nice.
It's a nice shirt. All right, let's move it in to Philadelphia sports. Enough with the nervousness. Let's talk about something positive.
We'll worry about that tonight.
All right, but we are going to talk about a fellow Penn State graduate, Saquon Barkley.
I love that guy.
The guy is unbelievable. 246 carries, basically 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns. He averages 6 yards a carry. He closed out the game last week in Baltimore, got that handoff, wiggled through a few people, got into the end zone for the 20-plus yard touchdown with just a couple minutes remaining to put a fork into the Ravens. And that was kind of felt like his MVP moment. Of course, you've had the MVP thing with Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. Now it seems like he's going up against the guy in Buffalo, Josh Allen, for the MVP award. Give me a pitch. If you were selling if you walked in the Shark Tank in front of Mark Cuban and Lori Greiner, and you needed to sell to them that Saquon Barkley is the MVP of the NFL, what would your sale pitch be?
I think it's the main thing I want to say is this guy is the Eagles. Like the Eagles are a great team. They got great players all around, but this guy has been carrying the Eagles through, what is it now, an 8-game win streak they're on? Yeah, an 8-game win streak. He has been carrying them game after game after game. And I give credit a lot to their offensive line, too, because they're helping a lot with this run game. But he has just been such a big part of this Eagles team. And I remember I've been watching Saquon since he was, 18, 19 years old when he was back at Penn State in 2015. He had such explosiveness in him then. And I just knew that kid was going to be such a good pro when he came out in the draft. He went number 2 to the Giants. I thought he should have been the number 1 pick to Cleveland that year. But he had such big explosiveness and such great ability to run all over the field, catching balls as well. Just get him the ball, get him out in space, and he can do so much damage to opposing teams. That overall has been able to carry the Eagles this year. And then on top of that, he's on pace to break Eric Dickerson's rushing record for most yards in the season. That record is one of the crazy. I remember back in, I think it was 2012, when Adrian Peterson was going for it, and he came up just short, and they're like, no one's ever going to do it. If Adrian Peterson couldn't do it, no one could do it. And now Saquon has a chance. He's on pace to break that record right now. He's at 1,500 right now. He needs 600 some odd yards more. That right there is, in my opinion, the perfect running back season. And I know the MVP is a quarterback award nowadays, and how can you really give it to a running back? The quarterbacks nowadays, they're just not putting up as impressive seasons as they used to. It's no longer the 50 touchdown seasons and the 5,000 yards. Some people are getting close to that, but not as much. But Saquon is literally having probably the perfect running back season on almost a first-place team, one of the best teams in the NFL. That's my pitch for him to win MVP this season.
I mean, that's a pretty good pitch. Also, like you said, Saquon Barkley is the Eagles. He is. Like, if you look, the Eagles have gone to Super Bowls with another Penn State graduate, Miles Sanders. Some other guys have gotten them deep. DeAndre Swift through the first half of the season was great for the Eagles last year. But, Where is the Eagles offense in 2024 without the 1,500-yard Saquon Barkley? Because, Jalen Hurts has been kind of all year, which we'll get to Hurts. With the turnovers earlier in the season and the inconsistency with some injuries with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Who knows where this Eagles offense is without Saquon?
Yeah, it's crazy thing about that because everybody was like, you're losing DeAndre Swift in the offseason, and he got a really big deal with the Bears. And you're like, man, just not get to resign a player like that when he was such a great part for your team last year is a big risk. And you get Barkley, and everybody's like, now you're overpaying for a running back. Who wants to pay almost $15 million a year for a running back? Saquon Barkley is such a game changer that I honestly don't think it matters. And Howie Roseman been able to work with that cap, so it really doesn't affect them that much. You're paying, $3 million for Saquon this year, which is incredible. And I honestly don't know where they would be. They really hit the rut after week 4 when they lost to the Bucs and were 2-2. Had that bye early on, which honestly looks like a really good thing for them because now they've been rolling for 8 weeks, and now they got 5 more weeks left to get the opponents that they really can all beat. They're kind of very easily. Steelers is the only one I would say not that much. But otherwise, I really don't know where they'd be without Barkley. He opens up so many possibilities with them. With Hurts is running, them stacking the box to get more receivers open for AJ and Smitty and Goddard. And it's just been able to take the pressure off them. And really, one other big thing is just wasting time on offense. And it's giving your defense more time on the sideline to relax and recoup and get ready to when they go back out. And they've been another big part too, the defense. They've been playing outstanding. So it just all works together really well. And that's just why Saquon has just been so big for this Eagles team. And he really is the Eagles because he's front and center right there when you're talking about who's the star of the Eagles. It's Saquon Barkley, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like over the past few years, A.J. Brown has been the star of the team. When Kelsey was here, you could throw in Jason Kelsey. But, Saquon has been unbelievable. Where would the Eagles be? We don't know. And now, MVP talks, definitely offensive player of the year, no matter what happens.
100%.
So, I mean, we can kind of look out, excuse me, on Lamar Jackson. His team's 8-5, 3,200 yards, 29 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. And I feel like it's kind of turning more towards Josh Allen. 2,691 yards, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a QB rating of 74.7. His stats are a little worse than Lamar's, but his team is 10-2. So to me, I'm looking at the record with a big part of the most valuable player, and who knows where the Bills would be without the magnificence of Josh Allen. How does Saquon stack up against Josh Allen if you're looking at the MVP race?
It's really interesting you said it because I would say it's very similar, Allen and Barkley, because like you said, where would the Bills be without Josh Allen? They would probably be a mid-tier team, probably 6-ish, 7 wins, maybe if they had like a Mitchell Trubisky back, maybe not even that many. And I think the Eagles still would be a little more decent if they didn't have Barkley and had a different running back. But they're both very similar in what they do. Allen wins you big games, and like you said, the stats aren't a little as good as Lamar, a guy like Lamar or a guy like Burrow, who have worse records, and I don't think they're really in anymore. I think the big thing that's going to help Allen's case is getting that 1 seed in the AFC, which they have the tiebreaker over Kansas City now, which is a big thing. I don't think it's as big for Barkley. I think his number one goal if he were to win the MVP is passing Dickerson's record because that's like the big thing for running backs to shoot for 2,100 yards every season. He'll probably finish with almost 2,500 all-purpose yards with the receiving as well. So they're really just very similar in terms of value. And it's such a vague definition of most valuable player because is it the best player that season? Because you could say the best player in the league is Mahomes, and he's always the most valuable player. Or is the person who had the best season? Is it the person who's most valuable to that team? It's such a vague thing, MVP. That's why they always say that offensive player of the year is basically not the real MVP, but the MVP for everybody that's not quarterbacks. And MVP's kind of become a quarterback award. But yeah, I would say they're both very valuable to a team. I think Saquon has a little bit of the edge, but Josh Allen is a very valuable part to that Bills team.
Yeah, he sure is. I think a Eagles-Bills Super Bowl
Oh,
way
be
down the
awesome.
line, but that would be a great game. Whoever the Bills play, it seems like it's
Mhm.
going to be a great game. And next week they're playing the Lions, which is going to
It's another
be,
great game.
people thinking that's the Super Bowl preview. I hope it's not, but
No.
it definitely could be. Of course, at the same time as the Eagles Steelers game, so we won't really be able to watch that one. But that is going to be a great game. That's in Buffalo, I think.
I
That one.
believe it is. Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
in Buffalo.
So, yeah, that should be a great game. My thing is like Saquon, if he gets the 2,100 yards and beats Dickerson's record, how can you not give
No.
him the MVP? Like that, it would be mind-boggling to me. Even if the Eagles crash and burn these last few weeks, but Saquon rushes for however many yards he needs now, 600 to get that record. Like you can't not give it to him, right? Like he breaks a record that people were saying could never be broken. Like that's got to be, MVP, top of your resume, automatic like victory.
Mm-hmm. And I think another thing too is records are so weird now because now NFL's adding, they have the 17th game. They're eventually going to add the 18th game. So a lot of these records for yards and number of touchdowns are probably going to be broken in the future. But I think a big thing for him is I think he really wants to do it in the next 4 games we have: Carolina, Steelers, I think it's Washington, Dallas, and then the Giants are the last one. Because I really think that it could come down to week 17, or no, week 18. We're playing the Giants, and nobody needs to play in that game because we either have the 1 seed probably at that point, or Detroit will just won too many games where we can't even catch them in the 1 seed because they'll win the tiebreaker, and Saquon might not even play in that game. So you could only have 4 games left to Saquon, and that would equal the same as how many Dickerson did it in. I'm pretty sure 16, and 600 yards in 4 games. It's a lot of yards, but I think he could do that. It's 150 a game, just about. He's playing Carolina this weekend. He could run for 250 again if he really wanted to against Carolina if they just keep handing the ball off. So I truly think that he's going to do it, even if it does take him an extra game, which, again, I don't think that really matters. I mean, the guy is just spectacular. I think Dickerson even said that he wants him to break it, or one of them, him or Henry, to break it because records are meant to be broken. I agree with that statement. So I think just breaking that record is such a big factor for him if he really wants an MVP. And I think people will think that as well.
Yeah, it sure is. And I mean, depending on how this game goes on Sunday with the Eagles, they'll have a crappy first half, but like Saquon could be out of there by the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
Which, is kind of, for me, records are cool, but I care about, lifting a trophy the 2nd week in February. So that's what I'm kind of looking at. And if you need to rest your guys, please do, and keep them healthy. Don't risk anything. So I mean, records are cool, but winning is cooler. I think Jalen Hurts said that.
I think he might have too.
Yeah, so that seems like a thing Jalen Hurts would say. And speaking of Jalen Hurts, let's assess him. The Eagles have the 2nd best record in the NFC. Hurts has just beaten Lamar Jackson. That adds to his very high resume of Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, and Lamar Jackson, who he's now beaten in his NFL career. Pretty good. Pretty good. It's the 3rd straight season the Eagles have started 10-2. We know what happened last year, but it feels like last year they were, kind of on that decline anyway. This year they're up. They've won 8 straight games. How would you assess Jalen Hurts? He's not having the stats he's been putting up that he did, in 22, early 23 on Sunday. He completed 11 of his 19 passes for 118 yards and a touchdown. He's not a flashy, flamboyant guy anymore, but he's winning ball games, and that's all that matters.
So I really don't want to call him a game manager, but it's kind of been like the thing that he's taken over. He's not like Alex Smith. Alex Smith is my definition of a game manager. The guy, go out there, hand the ball off to your best running back, make sure you make the tight throws to your really good wide receivers that you have. Don't make mistakes. Don't turn the ball over. Take the sack if you have to. Stay in the pocket. So I don't want to call him a game manager, but he's kind of moved to that zone where they don't really need him to make 35 passes a game to win a game. And that go in Harris with having Saquon and having a really good running back. And obviously you have really good receivers in Goddard and Smith and Brown. Even Dotson has been pretty good the last couple of games. Even Barkley had the backfield for throwing. But the thing with him is he just can't lose me games. Like, you don't need him at his best. At his best, he's a very good player. We've seen it. The Super Bowl, other than the one fumble, which I'll come back to, that really cost him that game, the big reason they cost him that game. You've seen him at his best when he can play that well on the biggest stage in the world, really, in the Super Bowl. So I know how great he can be, but I also know how bad he can be because we said it. We talked about with the turnovers and the carelessness on fumbles and the injury concern. This is the time of year when he bangs up his knee on some stupid run play up the middle like he did in Chicago. I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah, 22. Stuff like that happens, and you're like, dude, what are you doing? Just stay in the pocket, make the throw, make the good read on the run, and try not to turn the ball over 3 times a game so we can stay in this game and not blow it. So I would say him scaring me is a concern. But I do think that if he just handles business, sticks to the game plan, like you said, throws 19 balls a game, that's all I really need him to throw. I don't need him to be throwing 35 a game. Make the right throws. The field is opened up way more because of Saquon with him running. So it's giving you a chance to get balls to Brown and Smitty way easier. I think Kellen Moore's offense has finally gotten into these guys, and they've really got going with it, especially on the wide receivers and then some of the slot guys as well, because AJ's been lined up in the slot a little bit. So I would say just don't sell the gains for the team. Just make the right reads. Rush if you have to, because sometimes there's times, I think there was a play, it was the one rush before he scored the rushing touchdown in Baltimore this past week.
Yep.
It was 1st and goal at like the 6, and the middle of the field was wide open, and he took off. And I literally screamed it the second before he sat that ball. I'm like, the middle's open, run. And he noticed it right away, got them yards, got down to the 1, and then we did the tush push like you should. Things like that. As long as he recognizes things like that, keeps leading with the ball, I really think that he could be this team's quarterback for the future. You already pay him all that money anyway. I really hope he is the team's quarterback for the future, but can really be the guy that can lead you to a Lombardi trophy. So, yeah, I think he could be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a proven winner. He's been winning all his NFL career except for, at the end of last year in Super Bowl 57. He makes the plays to win football games. With Saquon Barkley as your running back, you don't have to be the reason you're winning the game, but you can have winning plays and win games for your team. And in the few plays where he really needs to make that play, he makes them. And if I need a quarterback that can do that, of course, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Stafford, Lamar, like those guys, of course, but Jalen Hurts is right up there with them as a guy who can win you a football game. Is he a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? I don't think so.
No, I don't agree.
If you need a guy that will win you a game, I'm pointing my finger at Jalen Hurts as one of my top 5.
Yeah, I as a full-time starter, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the last couple of years in terms of win-loss record, which is a big thing. And again, win-losses are – I hate that they're such a QB stat. Like, no one ever really talks about a win-loss record of an offensive lineman and stuff like that, which I guess you shouldn't because the quarterback, again, is the most important position on the field and most important position in football. You need good quarterbacks to win. And like I said, you just got to make the right reads, make the right decisions, and not lose games by turning the ball over 2, 3, 4 times a game. Keep it clean in the pocket. Know when pressures are coming. The offensive line does a really good job blocking for him. But yeah, he's got great weapons, although I hate to break this to you right now. This is breaking news from Ian Rappaport. Dallas Goedert has had an injured reserves, knee injury.
Oh, boy. That's not good.
Yeah, it's not. Plans for him to be back at full speed heading into the playoffs. So he's going to be out for at least 4 games and might even be the rest of the regular season, which is unfortunate. So, but that's one that, again, that's the next man up mentality, and that's the guy that now Hurts has to fill in the void with Grant Calcaterra. Jack Stoll, I assume, will be back in that role as backup tight end. But yeah, I still think they have what it takes to have Hurts be their quarterback that can win them Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, Grant Calcaterra to fill in for Dallas Goedert as well. He's been a pretty good catching tight end. He kind of won that game for them against Washington where he was able to cover Dallas Goedert's fumble. So, I feel good with Calcaterra, and you can kind of – he may be working for a job next year if the Eagles decide to move on from Dallas Goedert due to his injury concerns, and if they want to go with Calcaterra or look for a tight end in the draft. So that is something to look at. And, well, he gets that Pat started this weekend, tomorrow afternoon, back to 1 o'clock starts, thank goodness, against the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers aren't great. but they're playing better. Bryce Young finally kind of looks like who he is supposed to be. Since week 8, he has 1,062 yards, a 60.4% completion, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Last week against Tampa Bay, he completed 26 of 46 passes, which is a career high for him. For 298 yards, he threw a go-ahead touchdown to Adam Thielen as well with 30 seconds left in regulation. Panthers are playing well. Bryce Young finally looks like the guy who is the true number 1 overall pick for Carolina.
I'm a big believer in letting quarterbacks develop. And I understand, I've never been in these shoes. I wish I was. But I've never been in the shoes of a 21, 22-year-old quarterback or really just NFL prospect saying, son, you're going to be a first-round pick guaranteed right now. If you leave college right now, you need to go take that money right now. Go be successful in the league. You're going to make probably $40 million being a first-round pick or so with endorsements and all that good stuff. But I do think that the NFL has a really big QB problem. I think they're just allowing these young kids to come. The way the NFL is structured now is that you need to build your team up as much as you can without the quarterback, draft a really young one or sign a cheap veteran for a couple number of years and try to compete in that window by not paying your quarterback. Because after that, paying your quarterback just closes so many doors for potential players. And unfortunately, the Eagles with Howie Roseman can really maneuver around that, like giving Hurts that big contract and still being able to sign guys like Saquon Barkley. But for a lot of teams, take the Cowboys, for example, they just paid Dak all that money and CD all that money. Micah Parsons still has to get paid, and the three of them are going to count for almost 55% of their cap, which is so insane to think about. That the other 45% of your team is going to the other, I think it's 49 other guys on the team, which is nuts. So I'm a big believer in letting QBs develop and not just throwing them in the fire, especially when it's teams like Carolina, who you just lost the season before 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, and then you draft Bryce Young and throw him in with no receivers, no help, a head coach that you fire after 1 year, and now you got to bring in a whole nother coach. And people are writing off Bryce Young after a year and then the first 2 games this year when he got benched. And honestly, I think that benching was the best thing for him. He sat behind Andy Dalton, got some more reps during practice, didn't have to focus on, going out there and winning a game. Got that help for the first 5 weeks he was on the bench for Dalton. And now he's back in, and he's looking like you said, the number 1 pick that everybody was hoping to be. He's a very Drew Brees-esque player in terms of size and arm ability and a little bit of mobility and pocket presence. So I really see Drew Brees in him. And finally, he's getting a chance to be the quarterback and just that everyone thought he would be. And everybody's just not giving up on him and trashing him. He's got some really good receivers. Adam Thielen is finally healthy, playing well. Xavier Legette. I love Xavier Legette. I think he's going to be a stud in this league next couple number of years. So, and you got Dave Canales, who from Tampa Bay, who turned Baker Mayfield into a $150 million man last year, getting him that big contract. So they really are finally working with that offense. And things take time, and people want to rush because he's got a 4-year window before you got to pay him, and that's such a big problem. But Bryce Young, man, he's looking really good, and I'm not that nervous for this weekend because I think our defense is really good, and they're going to shut him down. But he's finally getting on the right track to being a better player in the NFL.
Yeah, it's excuse me, it's fun to see. Good to see a young quarterback. He was benched earlier this season for Andy Dalton. Dalton kind of had a little bit of an insanity run for about 2 weeks, got him out of there, and back came Bryce Young, and he's been good ever since. Eagles have Devontae Smith and Darius Slay returning this weekend, obviously. No Dallas Goedert, who we just said is now on the injured reserve, probably for the rest of the regular season. How much, I'm going ahead and saying it, the Eagles are winning on Sunday. How much will they win by? Are you placing $3.1 million like some dude did on the game for the Eagles to beat the Panthers, which is absurd.
Oh,
but
my God.
I mean, what's your prediction for Sunday? How much will the Eagles win, and by how much?
Well, first off, $3.1 million. I would love to have $3 million just to blow on a money line of NFL, a random NFL game. My God, that is so much money. I can't believe that some guy did that. Secondly, I do think the Eagles are going to win. I think they'll handle business at home against Carolina. I like Carolina. They're finally finding their groove, but I think this is where the Eagles put them in their place. I had them winning 35-16. I got Saquon going for 115, 2 touchdowns. I think A.J. Brown catches one as well. I think Devontae Smith, not as big as you'd expect him back in your first game. I think he'll get like around 40-ish, 50-ish yards. Probably won't catch a touchdown. I do think Grant Calcaterra is going to catch a touchdown this week. I think this is the week where they find him on a Goddard-type route in the middle of the field. I think he'll be able to grab one. Darius Slay coming back, it just keeps the defensive backs, a little bit more depth. Quinyon and Coop have been really good in that back secondary, man. I love watching both them play in Fangio's zone. But this team, games like this is where you just click and you keep the vibes good and you just keep things rolling because you got the Steelers coming up next week, which is a really big game. Surprisingly enough, Pittsburgh's playing really good right now. I love what Russ is doing over there. So it's going to be a tough game next week. Not looking ahead yet, but I have us winning 35-16. Saquon has another big day, keeps his MVP train going.
I like that prediction. All right, let's check out this story of this better.
This is insane. I still can't believe someone places bet.
$3.1 million. A guy in Kentucky, one of the largest bets ever reported on NFL regular season game.
That's insane, man.
Yeah, $3.1 million.
The 3.1 is crazy. To only win 442 is even crazy. Like, it's not even that much money.
Circus Sport. What is Circus Sports?
I don't know. That's a betting sports book I've never heard of.
That's where he places $3.1 million on.
Probably. I
told my guys in the risk room to go to work and get some buyback on the Panthers. Their owners said, with us being in 5 states, only in 5 states, interesting.
That's insane, man.
3.1. It's the highest. It's the most bet game this weekend.
Oh, by far.
We got this dude betting $3.1 million. So,
betting that much is just so crazy to me on a single game. Like, I know like Mattress Mac is a big one. Like, he's always betting like Houston. So like, I understand like betting on them to win the World Series at the start of postseason or whatever, trying to win money like that. Just betting that on one game where I hate to say it, but like Saquon Barkley could easily go down, can get in the first play of the game, get hit with a concussion, and he's out for the game. So you don't have Saquon Barkley the rest of that game, and who knows what else could go wrong. Bryce Young could go off and throw for 400 yards or something. It just, man, that $3 million he could potentially lose this week. It's just insane to me, losing that much money, possibly.
Yeah, good for him, I guess, if he's, able to do it. All right, let's look at the path to the 1 seed. This is our final Eagles topic, then we're switching. Eagles' remaining opponents. After the Panthers, they're hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to the Washington Commanders. And then their final 2 games, they host the Cowboys and the Giants. Hopefully that Giants game doesn't mean anything. And then for the Lions, they played on Thursday night. They barely beat the Packers. Was really rooting hard for the Packers in that one. And then they host the Buffalo Bills. And then they go to Chicago, go to San Francisco, and then host the Vikings for their final 4. Is there a shot the Eagles will not be playing in the wild card round, or is Detroit going to run away with this one?
I would say there's definitely still a shot. I mean, like you said, it would have been really big if Detroit or if Green Bay picked up that win on Thursday night over Detroit. That was a really tight, close game. That my God, Dan Campbell is just a madman going for that on 4th down and 1. I know. You have such great offense. Just kick the field goal, man. There's not much time left anyway. It's Jordan Love, to be fair. But there's still a really big path. Like you said, they got the Bills coming up next week. That's going to be a really big game for them, because if the Bills can end up winning that game, which I think at this point the Bills need to win as many games as they can to try and catch Kansas City, who keeps using their black magic to keep winning. But Detroit's got a really tough schedule at the end of the year. Bills is a tough one. At the Bears, outside in the freezing cold of Chicago in December does not sound fun. I know Chicago just played them close on Thanksgiving. They want revenge for some of the stuff I think Dan Campbell said about Caleb Williams, hitting him in the inbounds, making sure that we know and felt their presence. I think they're going to play that game really hard, especially with Eberflus now gone and playing with house money. Going West Coast to 49ers. Again, Brock Purdy, I have mixed feelings on Brock Purdy. I really don't like him, but that's just my personal opinions. And now no CMC. Again, San Fran, they're trying to play with house money right now. They're still alive for the West, surprisingly enough. They still got some good-ish players. Maybe Nick Bosa gets back by then. George Kittle still is a beast on offense. I love George Kittle. I wish he didn't play for the 49ers. But who knows? They're playing with house money, trying to cause some chaos in the NFC. I still think that's tough. I think that's a Monday night game, too.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, it's either a Monday or a Sunday. I know it's a primetime game. So that's another tough game, too. And at the end of the year, the Vikings as well. I know that's in Detroit, but if that could be coming down to the division possibly, if Minnesota keeps winning over these next couple of weeks, that could be a potentially division game. And that could be like a Sunday night game as well, because they could flex that to the Sunday night window if that's for the division. So Detroit's got a really tough schedule. And that's not saying the Eagles don't. I think this week is maybe the only week that's easy on paper. Division games I consider hard-ish because you just play division games so much. It's so hard to win all 6 division games a year. Like, I know the Giants aren't good, but you know that they're going to want to be playing spoiler to us in Week 18 and trying to knock us down in the playoff seeding. Like I said before, the Steelers are a really good team. We're going at Washington. I think we will handle business again, but that's another tough game. Washington's playing well this year. Jane Daniels got shut down the last time they played the Eagles, but again, he's a really good player. So it's pretty even. I think the Eagles had the slight edge. Like, if you told me that one of those two teams is going to win out, I think it'd be the Eagles, because I think Detroit is going to take an L eventually. They're scrapping by with some like 13 players on IR. I don't know how they're winning some of these games, really. So I would say the Eagles had the slight edge and maybe getting to win, but I think Detroit has the tiebreaker on us. Yeah. So they got to lose 2, which is really tough. Wait, I would say the best odds is probably losing the Bills game and then probably losing one of the division games, either the Bears or the Vikings. So, and that's what us winning all 5 games. That's another thing. I don't know. We're going to end the year winning 13 in a row. That's a tough thing to do. So it's not done yet, but the odds are getting very slim and slim. So we'll see. I would say next week is the first big test. If Bills can win next week, we'll be right back in that for that 1 seed.
All right. That's it for our Eagles talk. And we need to quickly thank our sponsor, SeatGeek. I just secured some Kendrick Lamar SZA tickets at the link. Nice. And, got to thank SeatGeek always. And you can save $20 off with the most easiest and efficient way to get your tickets on SeatGeek. If you use code Philly Sports Report, you can save $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Again, Philly Sports Report, $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Link is in the description of the YouTube stream and in the bio of all the social medias. So go check that out. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring. All right. Now we move on to the 76ers talk. And it feels like there is a little bit of hope, maybe, with the Sixers. I don't know. PG is back. He scored 29 the other night, had a big bucket to kind of, kill them, stick the fork in the Magic last night. Got the win. Jared McCain's the man. Tyrese Maxey, of course. Sixers have won 3 of their last 4. Hey, it's something. They're 6-15. Okay, they're under 10 games, under 500. They beat a good Magic team last night. Is there hope? Are things starting to trend well?
Like you said, it's trending well. But man, this team just frustrates the hell out of me. It really does. And that's just all bad. We'll talk about this a little later. We got the point coming up about just the NBA as a whole, just being a crazy product right now. But this team just frustrates me for the sole purpose that I don't even think they know who they are. Like, they really just don't have an identity. And I kind of feel bad for Nick Nurse. Like, he's trying his best with what he's got. Like, he's having to throw at Adem Bona at center or something, because Drummond just went down for the last couple games. He came back last night finally, thank God. You got guys like Adem Bona. You're preying on KJ Martin, who wasn't even getting minutes to start the year. You got really lucky in Jared McCain. Like you said, Jared McCain's been a really big plus side. Imagine if he wasn't even on this team right now and playing as well as he did. You'd be in a lot of trouble right now. But so far with Paul George, it's been a limited number of games, and the injuries, of course, he's gotten injured already. It wouldn't be the Sixers without him getting injured before the season even started. But he just hasn't really given me like a sense of like, man, we finally upgraded from Tobias. And Tobias is not a better player than Paul George. That's not what I'm saying. But you just really haven't given me that, like, man, we really hit on this free agent. Getting Tobias out of here, PG's in. That's what we really needed to do. It's been really frustrating with Paul George. Last night was probably the first time where I was like, man, okay, he's finally getting some groove going. Hopefully he can stay injured. I don't know if he's going to keep playing back-to-backs, which is frustrating because I just hate that players don't play stuff like that. But I understand why. But so hopefully that he keeps this rolling, keeps his shooting going well. Because really, right now, with no Joel, you need him to be on the floor almost every game, scoring 20 points a night at least, especially with Maxey. Maxey's been an interesting one. He has really struggled these last couple games. It's funny. He starts struggling these last 4 games, and they win 3 of 4, which shouldn't coexist. Like, he's 2 for 21 from 3 in those last 3 games. That's really bad. Like that, he's getting to the point where he's 17 for 52 from the field, 32.6. That's just not good overall. He's getting to the point where he's doing a thing that a lot of NBA players do, especially guys like Jalen Brunson that you see. LeBron has been doing this since he was 19 years old. He's going foul hunting because he's finally getting a whistle. And that was a big thing in the Knicks series last year that he didn't have. He didn't have a whistle in that series. They were never giving him calls. He wasn't going to the line. He had to score on his own shot, and he was doing that. And he was able to, when he did score, he was able to do that. He was hitting really big shots for them last year. But now that he's gotten a whistle, now that he's been an all-star and he's a star, probably top 20 player in the league right now, maybe 25. He's got a whistle. So he's going foul baiting. And I hate that guys do this because I hate free throws so much. I think it's such a boring aspect from basketball. Free throws suck. And he's really just not shooting well. So they're forcing him to go inside more and go foul hunting and try and get to the line to score. And they're forcing him to take ugly shots. I've seen more ugly shots from him in these last week and a half than I've ever seen him take in his whole career, which is just so concerning. But I don't know. I think the tide is turning a little bit. I really hope Joel can be back before Christmas. That's a really big game against Boston coming up. But I don't know. I just really don't know where this team can go this year.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think my last show I had Nate on, our Sixers writer, and we were kind of debating, like, will Joel play on Christmas? Like, that was like our line of will he play on Christmas? And it seems like at this point, if Paul George and or Joel Embiid are not out there, the Sixers are not going to win the game.
No.
You saw that 2 games ago against the first game against the Magic at home, and then PG's out there and they win. Who kind of is at fault for that? Is it the front office for not building a team that can play without them? Is it PG and Joel for not being out there? Is it no one's fault? Is it Nick Nurse's? Right now, I don't know who to point my finger at.
You know, it's hard to point a finger because you really don't know enough information. I think a big thing is, personally, I feel like Joel was not healthy enough to play in the Olympics. And I don't know why he did. I understand. Well, okay. I understand why he played in the Olympics. It's the Olympics. You really want to play. You want to win that gold medal. But I really, truly feel that after last season when they lost to the Knicks, he wasn't healthy. There was no reports of him having surgery on anything, or at least like major surgery. I think he had like minor touch-ups. I'm sure he has it every offseason. But there was no reports of major surgery for his knee or whatsoever. He plays in the Olympics. And then you get into training camp, and he's not practicing. And he's hurt again. He's got knee management. His left knee management's been dealing with that all this time. He apparently gets hurt again. He's out here punching reporters and just not having a great start to his season. And so I would mainly say I would blame Joel the most because I just don't think he's taking care of himself. And the information that came out from that player meeting kind of shows that he doesn't take care of himself. He's always late to practice. He's never showing up. He's not taking care of his body. He's not staying off his feet. He's not taking care of his knee. So I would probably blame Joel the most. I'm not blaming Nick Nurse. He's been given the team that he's been given. I'm not blaming the front office for not putting the team around him. I think this team was a very good team that was built around George and Maxey and Embiid. They got great guys in Kelly Oubre Jr. They drafted Jeremy McCain, which I loved. I went into that draft this past year. At the Sixers pick, I wanted either Jeremy McCain or Dalton Knecht. They've been the best 2 rookies. I was fine with getting either of them. They went with McCain. I really like McCain coming out of college. I thought he should have been probably way higher than where he would end up going to the Sixers. So I was happy to get him. You get a guy like McCain. You sign Andre Drummond to be a backup, which I thought was a great signing because Embiid gets hurt and you need a backup center. So I really didn't think anything was done badly. You got the scorer in George. You re-signed Maxey to a huge extension, which you needed to because he's going to get that from another team. So I would say the blame has to be put on Embiid right now for just not being able to get on the floor. And I don't know the full severity with his injury. I just know that from the stuff that's coming out from the players' meeting that he's just lazy. And this has been a known thing that he doesn't like to take care of himself in the offseason. He's hectic with the ball. He foul baits and he gets himself hurt all the time. And you see it all the time. It's a frustrating thing to watch as a guy who really could be a top player all time if he gets that championship. But I just don't know if he's going to be healthy enough to get there at the end.
Frustrating to watch. Seems like to be the story around the National Basketball Association, especially this season. The ratings for the NBA are way down, like crazy right now. There's so many reasons that go into it, but like if you had to pinpoint one big reason why the ratings are down, what is that reason?
My reason is Steph Curry. And it's crazy to say Steph Curry because what it really is 3-point shooting. I've never seen a team, not even just a team, I've never seen a league shoot so many 3-pointers more in my life. Growing up, shooting a 3 was just something you never did because no one was ever good enough to make threes. Like you couldn't even shoot that much. And now kids these days, man, I know I sound like old. I'm 22, sounding like I'm 75, saying back in my day when we played basketball, you got down in the paint with a center and you found an open shot from the mid-range. You never really shot threes, and you really didn't. But the biggest example I have, last night's game versus the Magic. The Magic shot 46 3-pointers. 46. And they only made 13. So if you're wondering why they lost, that was a big reason. If they shot at least half that, or even like the 40% that you normally would shoot, then they'd be in that game 100%. But instead, shooting 46 threes and only making 13 of them, it puts on a terrible product because now you have teams that just jack up that many threes a game. I think the Celtics are averaging like 35 to 40 a game, which is insane that they even shoot that many. Anybody shoots that many. And it's mainly, I said Steph Curry because Steph Curry, when he was starting out shooting threes in 2013, 2014, shooting like how many he normally would shoot, like 12 or 13 a night, he was making 8 or 9 of them. So I could justify doing that. But now you got guys coming to this league, guys like Jalen Suggs. No offense to Jalen Suggs. He's jacking up like 11, 10 threes, and he's only making 1 or 2. Maxey is another one. He's only he's shooting 7, 8, 9 threes. He's making 1 or 2. And I'm like, that's not what you should be doing. I think another thing that pisses me off, this is another thing. When you get the steal in transition, you have the advantage, and you take a pull-up 3. You're just giving up a possession because you're hoping to get 3 points out of it. So if a number one thing, I think the reason that the NBA ratings have been down, I think it just turned into a 3-point contest. I think the refing has been horrible. You're putting guys at the line. Last night there was like 20 fouls per each team. You're putting guys at the line and just slowing games down. I don't think there's really any big rivalries nowadays. Like the biggest game, I would say the best 2 teams for like the biggest draw is Lakers Celtics. And if you put that game on like a Friday night, you're maybe getting like 1.5 million viewers. You put a Jags Titans Thursday night football game on, they're probably getting like close to 20 million viewers. Like that difference in sports is unbelievable. You had the Lakers and the Celtics, and you can't even get 2 million viewers on the game. So I just think it's a watered down product right now. There's no integrity in the game. Everybody sits out. Nobody plays back to backs. 3-point shooting, you're just jacking up threes the entire time. This league is in trouble when LeBron and Steph Curry are done, and Durant too. When you lose American stars, people just don't really care. They don't want to watch the Lucas and the like the diehard basketball fans will watch them, but the casual fan just doesn't want to watch European basketball in America anymore. And you're going to struggle these next couple of years with the NBA. This is just the start. I think they got to make a really big change, or basketball viewership is just going to keep going in the toilet, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll see. Maxey in his last 3 games is 2 for 21 from 3.
Yeah, that's just it can't happen. Like stuff like that is the reason the Sixers are struggling, I think, a little bit because they're forcing to take terrible shots, and you're just wasting possessions by shooting that many threes in a game for what's supposed to be your star player. He's supposed to be the best player on the floor, even with Paul George out there. I think he's the best player on the floor, and he's shooting 2 for 21 from 3. It's a bad product right now, and people don't want to go and watch these games. And it was really hard for me to watch some of the Sixers games when they were losing like 10 in a row and they were 2-13. It was really hard to watch some of them games.
Yeah, it's kind of still hard to watch any real NBA game at this point. And I think another thing with it is kind of just like it's not about the team anymore, the team across your chest. It's a lot about the name on the back. And that kind of started with the LeBron fanship. You see a lot of fans following players instead of following teams. So, I mean, I think that's kind of part of it. Also, like it's more about the player show than the team show now. Guys all are friends. It's more of a brotherhood than it used to be. And, you don't really see a physical game out there anymore. You see guys, no one really plays physical, tough defense anymore because everyone's friends with each other.
No, and you don't want to play hard because if you hurt your boy and he's going to miss out on a contract, and everybody wants everybody to get paid because, my God, NBA pays way better than I think any other sport.
Yeah.
So, there's just no heated rivalry. And I don't want, like, Malice at the Palace fighting.
No.
But, my God, somebody shove LeBron in the dirt and get whoever the Lakers, like fight man to go fight the other team's fight man and make it like how hockey was. You had guys that would fight. Somebody push LeBron and starts some trouble or something like that. I need to see better from this league if you want people to get invested.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to have to do something quick, and something you're going to need to do quick. If you haven't gotten your gift for the holidays, well, I got something for you right here. Go to phillysportsports.com. First of all, thank you to FOCO for sponsoring. They're awesome. You can save 10% off in-stock items with the link in the bio and the description of the YouTube stream. Also, the ultimate Philadelphia sports holiday gift guide for Philadelphia sports fans is on phillysportsports.com right now. You can get the Phillies overalls. This is a nice Eagles hat right here. This Sixers bag, the Eagles velour suit. Jason Kelce wore this on Monday Night Football week 2. This nice Fanatic ornament, a beautiful looking Eagles ugly Christmas sweater, a nice Sixers sweater, of Eagles beanie. You're going to need those for when it starts getting cold, even though it already is. A nice onesie,
there you go.
Pajama suit that you can wear. These are very comfortable. I definitely recommend getting one of these. A nice Phillies bag, some Eagles, what's it called? Berlex or BRXLZ. I'm not sure what that means, but that's the brand. So go pick that up. If you're big on cooking, they shot glasses, bracelets. There is everything you want on here. The links are right here to get them. Go check this out right now on phillysportsports.com. Get your gifts for the holidays. And there's your gift guide right there. So thank you to FOCO for sponsoring. And it's time to talk about the baseball team, who seemed like they kind of had the most news throughout this week a little bit. The Phillies did. Winter meetings coming up next week. They're in Dallas. They're usually in San Diego. I guess they're in Dallas this year. But came out this week. No Juan Soto for the Phillies. Womp womp. They never met. The Phillies are not one of the teams that are offering. The stupid reports are out there. $750 million for 15 years. That just, to me, is Scott Boras bull BS. Does it surprise you at all? Do you care, or should I personally? I knew the Phillies were never had a shot at Juan Soto. It was always the two New York teams, and maybe the Dodgers. Sounds like Boston's kind of running the price up a little bit. So, does this mean did you really think the Phillies had a shot at Juan Soto?
I thought they had a shot. It wasn't a big one. I would say it's less than 2%. And I really thought that the relationships he's had with some of the guys on the team maybe would have helped. But at this point, they haven't even had a meeting with him. They haven't given him a number. I really losing Juan Soto. I care that they lost Juan Soto. I do care because losing Juan Soto is such a great player. I would love for him to be playing right field for the Phillies for the next 10 years. I thought it was a long shot, and it is. It's not going to happen, but it's unfortunate because they didn't even give an offer in. And it's really confusing to me what has caused them not to put an offer in. I know they've been dealing with some trade rumors, Ranger, Nick, Bohm. Bohm has been the really big one. I think at this point, it seems like Alec Bohm is on his way out of Philly, which I don't know what kind of trade they're going to end up doing for him. We'll talk about some of them in a bit. But to me, not putting an offer into Soto just feels dumb. Even if it's a throwaway, like a 15 for $650, and they say, well, we're not doing anything unless it's 750. We're like, that's all right. We're not getting involved with that much money. At least you tried, and at least you had a conversation with the guy. But that just hasn't happened. Dombrowski and John Middleton, they haven't had a conversation with Soto. I don't know. Maybe they will. I think winter meetings start technically Sunday. They might have one on Sunday. But at that point, I think Soto's going to make up his decision no later than Tuesday. Like you said, I think it's down to the two New Yorks. I think the Mets, nervously, are leading right now.
Yeah, it sounds like they came out. The Mets are going to outbid anybody. So, that's not a great thing to hear from a Phillies fan.
No, I think Steve Cohen really wants him. I think like you said, I think Boston's driving that price up. I really think Boston's just doing it to mess with the Yankees a little bit more, which is kind of funny. He has said he's not going to the West Coast. He's not going to the Dodgers. No way. There's no way that he's going to the Dodgers. I think he's staying in New York. Which New York that is, I don't know what boulevard or what part of New York, whether it's the Bronx or the Queens. I'm leaning towards the Mets right now, but I don't know. Losing Soto sucks. Playing him for the next 10, 15 years again, because I thought we got rid of him already when he was out of Washington. But playing him on the Mets is going to be really, really annoying. So if I had to pick, I hope he goes back to the Yankees. If he's not going to the Phillies, doesn't look like he's going to the Phillies, though.
Yeah, I mean, give me Juan Soto to the Red Sox. I want the reverse of the Bambino. Let the Yankees suffer for 100 years, and I don't have any beef with the Red Sox. They can go win a bunch of World Series. I don't care. I don't like the people of Boston, but it's better than the people, the New York Yankee fans. You think that it's, who are also Cowboys fans, so that makes it even better. But yeah, you mentioned Alec Bohm. Let's get into him. Sounds like it's like kind of like Kansas City was in, they're out. So Seattle, the Mariners, sound like they're the next in line. They're looking for a third baseman. And it came out this week that the Phillies could trade Alec Bohm in a package involving Logan Gilbert or George Kirby, who are, the two starting pitchers who kind of headlined the Seattle Mariners. Gilbert this year was 9-12 with a 3.23 ERA in 33 starts, pitched 208 innings, had 220 strikeouts and a .89 WHIP. Meanwhile, George Kirby was 14-11 with a 3.53 ERA, also at 33 starts, 191 innings, 179 strikeouts, and a 1.07 WHIP. Gilbert's got a worse record but better numbers. Kirby's record's better with worse numbers. The record for a starting pitcher at this point, in my opinion, don't matter. The Phillies will probably have to deal a prospect in this trade as well if they want one of these pitchers. Is this something you're willing to do? As if you were Dave Dombrowski, give up Bohm and a prospect to get one of these good starting pitchers? Or are you kind of looking other places for Bohm?
So Seattle is definitely a place that I think I would trade for. And I honestly think the two pitchers you mentioned are on the table. And I think another guy, Luis Castillo, is another guy from Seattle I think they really could be on the table for. Castillo, I don't think would be as much. I think they're trying to get off his contract because he kind of had a down year, similar to Bohm. But I think out of those two, Gilbert is the better player. He's got the better stuff. He's more of a strikeout pitcher. He's got the longevity a little bit more. He was a 200 inning pitcher this past year. So I think if you would want one of those two, it's Gilbert. I think Seattle, though, I really don't think they're going to trade either of them. I think that's a really big ask, and I don't think you really want to trade. I don't know. They've been talking about Justin Crawford. I don't know if they really want to trade him, but I just don't think you can really give up any of your big prospects and Bohm to get Gilbert. I know they're really good players, both of them, Gilbert and Kirby. I just don't know if you want to do that. A guy I really think that the Phillies are going to get, I think right now, Garrett Crochet is down to two teams. I think it's Boston, and I think it's the Phillies. I think if Boston gets one of the free agent pitchers, whether it's Corbin Burns, Max Fried, I was going to say Sevy just went, so he's out. But I think if they get a guy like Max Fried or if they get a guy like Corbin Burns, that puts them out of the Crochet sweepstakes. And that really, I think it leads down to like the Phillies. I really think that the Phillies can get Crochet, maybe get Luis Robert. I don't know if they really want him, though. I personally don't want Luis Robert. I just think that's a failing experiment, and you're just going. I think that's even worse again, like Austin Hayes this past year. So getting Crochet, I think it could work for Bohm. And I really don't think it would cost much more. I think you can even trade for Crochet without even trading Bohm. I think you can trade guys like Starlin Caba, guys like Gabriel Rincones is another really good guy that you can trade. They could deal off Eduardo Tate, their top catching prospect, but I really think they want to keep him because I think they're really worried about JT these next couple of years. I don't think they want to get rid of Eduardo Tate because they just got rid of Logan O'Hoppe 2 years ago. I love Logan O'Hoppe. I wish he was our starting catcher right now. I love JT too, but I love Logan O'Hoppe so much. They're really concerned about catcher. I think Tate might be a guy that could be up here this year because they got that deal with Stubbs where he could play down in the minors. And I think at some point, if Stubbs is just not the guy you need and you want JT struggling and you want a guy up here, I think Tate could be that guy. So I think Garrett Crochet is more in the cards for the Phillies. I think getting Boston out of it with a free agent pitcher is the way to go. And then that opens up a whole nother world of possibility. If you trade Bohm, or if you don't trade Bohm, you could go for an outfielder. I think Sia Suzuki and Cody Bellinger are two guys are definitely thinking about from the Cubs. Their prices are not going to be that much for a couple prospects. And they could play. I think Suzuki can play, I think, anywhere. Bellinger plays left and center. I don't think he plays right anymore. But those are guys you could definitely think about if you need outfield prospects, if you trade off Bohm and you need more outfield guys.
Yeah, I also like the Astros are there with Kyle Tucker. Sounded like they're open for a trade with him. If the Astros are out and cannot bring back Alex Bregman, you can try and see if you can bring Bohm to Houston, try and get Kyle Tucker from them. There's a world of possibilities with Alec Bohm, and we're just back here sitting and watching. And now, follow also Bregman. He sounds like he's going to be pretty expensive. And Willie Adames as well as the other target of the two. They're both going to be pretty pricey. But if the Phillies are really serious about trading Bohm, which I agree with, which of the two would you rather?
I do think that you need to trade Bohm. I think at this point in his career, he's getting to that point where he's getting out of his sweet spot in terms of money. And that's a really big issue, I think, for the Phils, because they're paying a lot of guys a lot of money. And they're going to get a big player, whether it's a pitcher or a big outfield bat. Getting a guy like Crochet, you need to give him an extension. Or if they end up getting a guy like Alec Bregman, I think his price going to be Alex Bregman. I think his price is way too much right now. I think they honestly were in on him, but $200 million for him is a lot of money, man. So I think you're getting to the point with Bohm where you're going to have to give him an extension in the next couple of years because you're about to be done with arbitration. I think he has 2 years arbitration left. So because of that, I think you're trying to move off him in a time where he's coming off an all-star appearance at third base, also a starter at third base, by the way. Don't let me forget that. And I think that could open up your world of possibilities, like for a guy like Kyle Tucker. You know, there's other guys on the team. Castellanos has been a guy that's been shopped a little bit. Ranger Suarez, another guy who I personally think Ranger Suarez is out the door right now. I think he is the prime example of a guy that you want to deal right now if you can get a guy like Crochet or another pitcher with your staff. Because if you trade Sanchez or Suarez, you have Christopher Sanchez, Wheels, Nola. You bring in, just say, Crochet, and you have Andrew Painter coming back from Tommy John, hopefully sometime at the end, probably the middle of this season, but definitely for the future. That's your fifth guy right there. That's a stud 5-man rotation right there. One of those guys end up probably going to the bullpen. It'd probably be a guy like Andrew Painter or maybe even Christopher Sanchez. So Ranger Suarez becomes dependable, expendable. This is his last year before he hits the open market next year. I think they're trying to get as much value as they can from him.
Yeah, him and Castellanos are the other two that have been rumored in trade talk. Do you see either of them leaving?
Like I said with Suarez.
You just said Ranger, but more Castellanos.
100% with Suarez. Casty, I don't think so. For the sheer fact that I don't think they can get off his money. He is making a lot of money this year. And don't get me wrong, he is putting in the work. He was our best player last year in the second half. Plain and simple. Maybe Wheels. I would probably put Wheels 1. Best offensive player was no doubt Nick Castellanos. They don't make the playoffs, and they really don't win the one playoff game they did without Castellanos. He was such a big part for this team, and it really sucks to see him go. And it's crazy me saying this because if you told me this a year ago, I say trade him. I don't want him on this team anymore. He was terrible. He was a big reason why we sucked. He has turned it around really well. He has seen the ball well. He's not chasing to anything. He's hitting a lot of inside fastballs. I truly think that he can make it work in right field or left field, wherever they want to make their outfield work with whoever they get, whether it's like guys like Kyle Tucker or like a Santander they could sign, another big free agent they could get. I think they can make it work with Castellanos. And I think they would make it work if they get another outfielder, because then that closes the platoon with Marsh and Rojas in center. You could put both of them out there, and by July, if you don't think Rojas is that great, you can move off him and have Marsh out there, or you can trade for another guy at the deadline if you really need an upgrade in center field, Ranger, though, I think this is his time. I love the guy, Ranger Suarez. I love you to death. He's coming off a really bad injury. Just saw a really bad second half with him. This is the top time you're going to get for him in terms of value. He's coming off of an all-star appearance. I think he finished, 10th in Cy Young, something like that. This is the time to trade him. You're not going to re-sign him. You already got way too many pitchers, especially if you're going to get a pitcher, and you probably are in this during this winter. I think this is the time to trade Ranger Suarez with guys like Andrew Painter coming up. He's fallen in the cracks. It's just not going to work out for him, unfortunately.
All right, that's going to do it for that. And also, just before you leave, I want to show you this. Big Ten, we got an Oregon sweep.
Oh, my God. That's a good thing.
ESPN College Game Day board.
It's a good thing. That means we're winning, hopefully.
All right. Well, I wish you and the Nittany Lions the best of luck tonight, Matt. Thank you for coming on.
No problem. This was great. I love just breaking stuff down and talking sports. I love talking Philly sports especially, and this is great. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Good luck tonight, mentally, physically, and
take care.
Go Penn State. All right. So we'll talk to Matt at different time. He's got a big game coming up tonight for his Nittany Lions in the Big Ten championship game. But one final thing we need to touch on today: the Philadelphia Flyers playing well, took the Florida Panthers. They were down 3-0, came back 5-4, and then ended up losing the other night. They play Boston this afternoon, and at 1:00 in Boston. But I wanted to talk about Ivan Fedotov and Aleksi Kolosov right now. Sam Ersson is returning back very soon from his injury. And Kolosov and Fedotov have been incredible in his replacement. Now, you're going to have to pick. You can't carry 3 goaltenders the entire year. You're going to have to pick one of them. The other one's going to have to go down to Lehigh Valley. Who are you going with? Fedotov, in his 10 games, he got off to a bad start, but he has 4 wins. He's been great since, a 3.48 goals against average and an 8.77 save percentage. Kolosov, in 8 games, has 3 wins, a 3.22 goals against average, and a save percentage of 882. They've both been great. They both can go out there and win you a hockey game. Fedotov's been great down the stretch. Kolosov as well. Who do you go with? I have absolutely no clue. 0 clue who the Flyers should go with. I think at this point you carry 3 goaltenders. When Ersson's cleared, they just haven't reactivated him just yet. They're probably waiting to see a few more games of Fedotov and Kolosov for them to make their pick so they can send one down and bring up Ersson. Today's a big test. Kolosov starting in Boston. That's a big test for him. What do the Flyers have coming up? Let me look at this really quick. So, all right, it just cleared. Here we go. Flyers. There we go. All right, so they have Boston, and then tomorrow night, Sunday night, they play Utah at 7:30, and then they go to Columbus and then host Detroit, and then they're in Minnesota, and then it's December 14th. They're in Minnesota, and then they have a little bit of a break, 4 days off before their next game. So these next maybe 5 games or so could determine who's going to be up and who's going to be down, unless they're giving it maybe before they go out west, because they'll go out to Minnesota. So maybe the next 4 against Boston, Utah, Columbus, and Detroit. Could be when they decide between Kolosov or Fedotov. They've been back-to-back. So Kolosov against Boston, Fedotov against Utah, Kolosov against Columbus, and then against Detroit, it'll be Fedotov. Kolosov's getting those road starts, so maybe they'll give Fedotov one road start and then Kolosov a home start. We'll see what they kind of do to mess with it. I don't know. I don't know where they go, because both have been great. Both go out and win you hockey games. So I don't know who you go with, man. I got no clue. They've both been great. That's going to have to be something that the Flyers are going to have to decide probably sooner than later. With Ersson coming back. That's a good problem, though. Flyers have good problems. They got 4 guys going to the 4 Nations tournament. 4 Nations Face-Off, I think, is the name of it. They got Konechny and Sanheim on the Canadian team. Rasmus Ristolainen for Sweden, and Tortorella, an assistant coach for USA. So, he's going to have those guys doing some crazy drills like he does with the Flyers, with the rope or whatever it's called. He's got that one. So we'll see where the Flyers go with that. That'll be an interesting decision coming up very soon. And that's going to do it for us here on this show. This afternoon, or this morning. Now we're kind of in noon, so we went a little over an hour, but it's all good. Thank you to Matt for coming on, talking some Philly sports and some Penn State. Go check out Penn State tonight. Big Ten game against Oregon, looking to flip the script a little bit. Penn State, that's tonight at 8 o'clock. Flyers Bruins coming up at 1 o'clock this afternoon. If you missed that one, you can go to phillysportsbooks.com after and read the recap. And tomorrow, of course, Eagles-Panthers, 1 o'clock. Tune in. Same places, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. You can find the Eagles pregame show with Sam and I tomorrow at 12 o'clock, featuring a special guest to our Facebook. So that'll be fun to check out. Make sure you tune in. And then Bell Ringers podcast coming up soon. Colin and I, we're working on some scheduled things right now, but we're working on getting a show done together to talk about the Juan Soto and the Alec Bohm and Castellanos and everything we talked about today. More in depth in a full Bell Ringers episode. So that's going to do it. Here, thank you all for watching. And listen, if you ever miss a live Philly Sports Hour, they're live every Saturday at 11 a.m. They stay up on YouTube, and they will be uploaded on all podcast apps right after the show. So you can always check them out throughout the week or on Saturday afternoons if you missed the show. I'm Ben Goldstein. Follow me on Twitter at BGoldsteinPSR, also on Blue Sky. I don't know about Blue Sky at bluesky.net, whatever the handle is. It's the same app. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. I'll see you next Saturday morning.
Swing and a drive, left field. It's deep. It's gone. Yes! And it is gone. Yes! It is bedlam at the bank. Look at the doctor. Yes, he's got it. Here he comes. Way back to me. It is Cleveland slammed up. And the doctor made a sensational play. Harlan front the bucket. They score! And Giroux got it. Goldstein fires. Blast and goal! Back again. He's got to be 10.